What's going on, everybody? Today we are actually going to be taking a look at Maru's Battle Mech against Ragnarok. Battle Mech been kind of picking up some speed in TVZ especially. A lot of people are kind of moving over to this new playstyle, or technically old playstyle that's kind of resurging and coming back. So yeah, today we're just going to be doing the deep dive analysis. Now, personally, I've been playing a little bit of Battle Mech myself. It's really fun, but it's really hard. It requires a lot of multitasking, a lot of just micromanagement of your units. Micro is a big deal when it comes to this playstyle. So if you're not the biggest micro-heavy player, or you invest too much into micro and not enough on your macro, you are gonna fall behind. I would not recommend this. That's the biggest con I can find. Now, the biggest pros I can find is it's insanely mobile. It's fun, and it's very good. It's hard to counter for the Zerg players. The best thing they can really do is like try to catch you out with some fungals. You can deny tech. You can be a huge pain in the ass. So anyway, let's just go ahead and we'll just start, I guess. We're seeing a normal Reaper expand out of Maru. So we're seeing depot, barracks, refinery. And then we're probably going to be seeing a Reaper, a orbital, and a second command center down here on the low ground. Now, if you guys do enjoy this content, definitely let me know in the comment section below. If you don't, also let me know. Any feedback is good feedback. And this is only like the third LFP. So, you know, we're still just trying to get our bearings kind of situated here on how we want to go ahead and continue the series. But down below in the comment section, you can actually find links to notes, build order, and the replay itself. So feel free to have out that. All right, so we see our first Reaper is on the way now. We're approaching that 100 gas, so we're going to pull our SCV and get that factory going. Perfect. Everything's looking good. This is game 2, by the way, of Maru versus Ragnarok. So at the same time we grab that factory, we're grabbing our second gas. That's good to know. We're not postponing it. We're not getting a third base real quick. Just doing some micro, seeing what the Zerg is up to. Now, honestly, this build does work pretty well against most things Zerg is going to go. So like Ling Floods, it works good against that. Banelings works really good against that. Roaches works really well. The only thing I could see you having some issues with is if the Zerg goes 2-base Muta. That can be rough until you get like a critical amount of cyclones out. And then, yeah. So orbital, and then we're immediately throwing down our starport after this factory is done. We didn't pull off gas. We didn't do any fancy tricks. We're going to go ahead and swap these over, take our reactor for hellions, and we're grabbing our third gas now that our orbital has started. That's pretty important to keep in mind. This is a pretty gas-intensive build. And also, whoops, we have this starport. We're throwing down this, our second starport right now too. So once we hit about the extra 100 gas, after our third refinery is on the way, we're going to start that second starport. We are going to open up Viking first to deny Overlord vision. That's a big one. We don't want the Zerg to know what we're up to. So far the Zerg thinks we're just playing very standard. He might think we have a third base on the way already, but we don't. So I'm gonna go ahead and swap that tech lab. By the way, we started this tech lab when we moved the factory over and replaced the barracks reactor with the factory, and then we started this tech lab after that. And we're gonna be using that for our starport. Our second starport finishes, we're dropping our tech lab on that one, and our Viking is out, so we're going to start denying coverage. And we're going to switch immediately into banshees. So we're doing one banshee here, and we're starting our hyperflight rotors, aka banshee speed. That starts first because it is a 100-second upgrade, where cloaking is only about 80 seconds. So we're going to start that one to get it done as soon as possible. We're going to go ahead and start another Banshee and cloak over here. So we can start pumping out 2 Banshees at a time. Now the main thing is we're just trying to keep these units alive. The longer these units are alive for, the better off we're doing. Denying the scout. This is something a lot of Terran players do too. If you find yourself giving away too much information or lings run by you or you're scared of that, what you can do is you send out the first 2 hellions with the Reaper on the map to gain that map control. Your next 2 hellions stay at home and they guard by for ling run bys or single ling scouts. And then your next 2 hellions, once you have 6 hellions total, then you go back out on the map and start pressuring creep tumors. There you go, where Viking is out there searching for overlords right now. Go ahead and checking our saturation. We haven't taken this 4th gas yet. There you go. We're finishing up that wall off, so we're pulling all of our hellions together. Our first banshee's done. Our second banshee's about to pop. And I believe we're going to throw down 2 more factories in just a second as well. Alright, so we got our 2 banshees. Still haven't taken that 4th gas yet. We're throwing down our command center. So our 3rd base is after our 2 banshees are done and 2 more are on the way. And there should be 2 factories right here and here. And our 4th gas. Yep, there you go. So basically so far we Reaper expanded. We did the very basic opening. Everything was standard until our second command center was morphing into an orbital. We went ahead and started our 3rd gas there. Then we got a 2nd starport down here. We swapped over the tech lab on our barracks to our starport. We started pumping out banshees. We made another starport with tech lab down here out of Zerg's vision so he can't see it. Starting up cloak. Then we got 2 banshees. Started up our 3rd CC, starting up 2 factories that we're gonna throw tech labs on. And something also just caught my eye. Maru does know he's going up against roaches. Now, roaches, if your opponent's playing roaches, you basically won the game with this build. Your units are way faster. They don't shoot up, so your banshees are perfectly fine. The only thing you have to worry about is queens. We are in a very good spot. Continuing hellion production, continuing worker production. We're not cutting any SCVs here. Everything's looking good. We're almost fully saturated on both. As soon as we have 4 banshees, we're going to start pushing across the map. Now, if you do a normal build, a normal banshee timing normally hits at around 5:30ish, 5:15, 5:30ish. So we are pushing this back by 30 seconds. But the difference is we have 4 banshees instead of 2, so we double the power, and we got some hellions, and we're just gonna come out. We're gonna focus down these high priority units like these ravagers because they are worth a lot of money, and the opponent can't get those back. It's a lot of supply, a lot of money. We're gonna kill the roaches, and we're just gonna push out with our hellions. And this is actually a really nice spot for Maru. Now we are a little bit supply capped, unfortunately, but as soon as this finishes. As soon as these finishes, we're going to drop 2 more tech labs. We're going to continue hellion production. We're continuing banshee production. This guy's going to finish. We're going to orbital it and take our 3rd base and push across the map since we are fully saturated on both bases now. So over here you see the banshees just getting a ton of work done. And this is the hard part. This is the hard part when it comes to managing the army though. So while this is happening, our banshees are getting a lot of damage. We're still controlling this army over here, trying to attack from different angles. This is our fringe base killer. This is going to be the guy denying the 4th, attacking the 3rd, attacking the 5th, depending on where the Zerg is expanding to. These guys are going to be targeting infrastructure the entire time. And it's more important to keep your banshees alive rather than dealing damage. So what you'll notice is Maru actually ends up pulling back a few banshees when he could just kill stuff. But instead he's just focusing on getting this little outer area, stopping mining. There's a spore crawler. We can kill that because it will be annoying being in the middle, but we're just making sure this guy doesn't die. We're rallying across the map all of our banshees. Our hellions are running around, making sure we're not losing them randomly here. This is pretty rough, but honestly, our banshees are doing enough damage at the Zerg's home that we should be okay. Now, the factories are up. The tech labs are on them. We're starting Mankfield, and we are also starting Blue Flame. Our 3rd base switched into the orbital. We're going to go ahead and take that now since we have complete map control. We know the Zerg isn't coming for us anytime soon. We're just going to go ahead and move that over. Our saturation is looking insane, which is really good, which means we can pull a bunch of these guys over. And we are starting vehicle plating because cyclones actually aren't affected by the weapon upgrade. Most of their damage comes from the spell damage and mag field accelerator. So that's where we're getting vehicle plating. Also, it works for our ships too. It makes our banshees tankier. It makes our hellions tankier. It makes our cyclones tankier. It's just good all around. In the meantime, this armory did go down at about 6 minutes, by the way. I wasn't covering that because I was watching the micro. But we're expanding behind this. We're trying to deny this layer. This would be huge for us. But honestly, Maru makes a smart choice. He said, you know what? I have too many yellow and below banshees. I'm just going to go ahead and pull back. We can snipe the layer later. Now, I like what he's doing. This Viking hasn't stopped patrolling. It's gotten 2 Overlord kills. It's hunting for more, and these banshees are mega fast. Now, does Maru know the spire is on the way? Let's see. No, we don't know spire's on the way. It is, you know, honestly, it isn't crazy to expect a spire on the way, right? Like, we know it should be coming. But the good thing is this build actually handles spire pretty well. Banshees with speed outrun overseers. And that's the important thing. They don't outrun the mutalists, but they outrun overseer vision. So you can kind of run away. You will lose a few banshees here and there, but we will have a shit ton of cyclones, and cyclones shred banshees or mutalisks, sorry. They absolutely annihilate them. So that's just good news for us. If they go into mutas, then we just stop making banshees for a minute. We start making a couple Vikings to go along with our group. And then we just push with our cyclones, hellions. And the main thing about this army composition too is we're never taking in a direct fight, right? We're not going to be sitting there and this isn't an A move army. You can't stem A move. You're not going to win a fight. You have to constantly be microing this army. Otherwise, you will lose all of your units. Now, if you are constantly microing your army, though, you're going to get a lot of good lock-ons. You're going to kill all these roaches. You're going to run away from the lings. Your hellions are going to get rid of them. You know, there's a lot of good things about that, but you just need to constantly be on edge and making sure you know where this is. And this is what I talked about earlier too, right? So we have our hellions and our cyclones. They're coming over here to deny this creep as well as this expansion and this expansion. And while these guys are all running over, we're sending our banshees up. They're going to be going up into the main to target the infrastructure. Try to snipe this hive because that would be awesome. Maybe kill a bunch of workers and transition here. Kill some units, whatever we can get done. Let's go ahead and switch back to Maru's point of view. So with this many, you need 9 banshees to one-shot queens, or 8 banshees to one-shot queens. You need like about 5 banshees to two-shot them effectively through a transfuse. And see, we're just denying this base. We did see the mutas, so we are running. We're trying to save these guys. Maru doesn't panic or anything. He immediately just says, okay, well, I need a couple Vikings, so I'm going to start Viking production here and here. I'm going to throw up a couple more factories. I'm going to make some more cyclones, and you know what? I'm going to throw up 1 turret per mineral line, and that should stave off this small amount of mutalisks. And we're also going to be taking our 4th base. Every single time you see Maru pushing out and, like, you know, kind of overextending onto and then denying opponents' spaces, he's expanding behind it. Plating 2 is coming up now, giving us even more tankiness. We're going to push out with our boys, our mobile boys. We are very active on the map. We do see some mutalisks coming in here. And we can react by pulling our stuff. Maybe we can catch them out in the middle of a transition. Maybe we can catch them up here. Maru doesn't, but he does scare them away, which is good. And he's going to get this missile turret up. He is continuing to chase him. And he knows, this is a move I also really like by Maru. He knows where the mutalisk flock is. So he's sending his banshees in to snipe off more bases, kill more queens. do more economic damage because we know exactly where the mutas are, and we're gonna get lock-ons and kill as many of them as we can. Yeah, look at that. The cyclones really decimate mutalisks. We're getting a run by here. Now that's one thing I would say Maru did make a mistake on. You don't really need the hellions to chase mutalisks. Instead, he was just pulling the entire group. Instead, you could have left, a couple hellions here, a couple hellions here to prevent run-bys, and then chase the mutavis with your cyclones. The only benefit they have chasing the mutas is that the glaives don't bounce to all of your cyclones, and they absorb some of those mutalist bounces, but nonetheless, we do clean this up. We did lose 25 workers, which is a lot, and here comes Ragnarok's attack. And this is what I mean too, right? You can't take a direct fight, and Maru never does. He's basically borderline stutter stepping and running away. Meanwhile, all the cyclones are getting a lot of lock-ons. As soon as he's killed a good portion of this, he morphs his hellions into hellbats to kind of just become meat shields, and then his army just cleans up Ragnarok's. Like, even in that scenario where there's like a few roaches and a couple cyclones, the cyclones still just died. Like, they're destroyed like paper. This is where those Vikings come in. We never really stopped making banshees except for to get these Vikings out. I think we only made 2 or 5 total in this game. I guess we could check units lost tab, huh? Yeah, well, whatever. You know what I mean. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really know how all this this caster stuff works. I'm not too sure. Not something I explored a lot, but there's only 3 mutalisks now, so I mean, like, we're in borderline no danger from these. We could probably send 1 or 2 cyclones that are rallying across the map. Like, we can send these 2 guys to go clean that up. We have a missile turret, so it's not like they can dive our SCVs. We have a big pool, our army over here, and we can just get some lock-ons, run away, snipe them down. I don't know why he pulled the banshees back. I wonder if they're part of this air hotkey group. I think they are part of the same air hotkey group, so another little bit of a micro mistake. Then we have another huge run by again. Maybe leaving 1 or 2 hellions at home wouldn't be bad, but there was a big push after the counterattack that we were just pulling off, so it makes sense why he didn't have any here this time. Plus, any future base has these planetaries, so they're pretty safe. We have our wall at our natural, so they're not going to get on our production. We are starting vehicle weapons to help our hellions, and technically, I mean, I guess it helps the Typhon pods, but not really, since that's not really where the damage is going to be coming from most of the time. And we're just going to making sure we're denying this base over here. We're going to be pushing this base. Our flyers, our banshees are probably going to run up this way. Going to try to start going for all this stuff over here in the infrastructure side. And look at Mars production, right? All right, we're up to 3. We're just making more cyclones, more banshees, another command center, more factories. We're just adding on factories at this point. Basically, for every base, yeah, we went to 3 factories on 2 bases. When we got our 3rd base, we added 2 more. When we got our 4th base, we added 2 more factories. And that's just kind of what we're going to keep doing. I mean, 8 is the magic barracks count, so why not have 8 factories, right? I mean, we are 2, 4, 6, 7. We're nope. This will be the 8th one. Look at that. Neato. And Ravagers suck versus Cyclones. Their bile doesn't do anything to Cyclones because they can just run away. And here, we're just the only reason we're still making Hellions is to make them Hellbats. They are meat shields. As soon as we pull back with our Cyclones, the Hellions are just going to push forward, start soaking the damage, kill all the Zerglings so our Cyclones don't get surrounded. Our Banshees are now back in the main doing more infrastructure damage. We're going to try to snipe this layer that's turning into a hive. That'd be huge. And we get it. Worth it. Killing that hive is insane. And Maru even trying to take an upfront fight. But you see a couple roaches do beat out Cyclones if you're not microing them. This is a very intense micro focus build. This is also an insane amount of damage getting done here. And we're just rallying across the map at this point. He can bring those Banshees to the fight if he ever decided to. but he's just getting way too much damage done over here. And there's the infestors. Infestors are what kill this comp technically, so if you're worried about that, you can kind of mix in some ghosts. But Ragnarok just GG's because well, look at the supply difference, right? He's 125 to 150. Ragnarok lost his all of his tech, losing that layer. He's gonna have to remake the layer and then back into Hive. The mutas didn't get anything done. He is just broke right now. And meanwhile, Maru taking that 5th base, turning into a planetary, and we are good to go. So he'd probably be taking the 6th base soon. He might throw in a couple more factories just to make sure that he's producing, or maybe even an extra starport, but probably 2 starports is fine for this playstyle. He did start pulling up the barracks to go into ghosts to start sniping or EMPing all the infestors. That's a very good move. Yeah, and plating 3 was almost done, so very good mechanical game out of Maru, kind of displaying Battle Mech in a really good state, showing why it's so good and why Zergs don't like playing against it. So yeah, if you like this playstyle, let me know. Yeah, that's pretty much all I got. So I guess we can kind of recap a little bit. It was a really early Reaper expand into 1 gas, into a quick starport after factory. We produced hellions, never stopped producing hellions from this factory, never even moved it. Eventually made 2 starports, started cranking out banshees, a couple Vikings to stop the mutas, got speed, cloak, and then started throwing on more factories and just producing cyclones nonstop. Now the interesting thing is he doesn't have... Notice a lot of these factories have tech labs. Not very many of them have reactors. I mean, there's 1, 2, 3 factories with a reactor. That's kind of all you need, right? You want a majority of your production to be cyclones, and the like every single time you tack on 2, you might as well make either 2 tech labs or 1 tech lab, 1 reactor. Just depends on if your opponent's making more Zerglings, you're going to want more Hellions. If your opponent's making more Roaches, you're going to want more Cyclones and that kind of thing. But yeah, let me know if you enjoyed the video. This has been Learn from Pros episode 3, Maru's Battle Mech, and I will see you all next time. Bye.